in the back? Can you hear me? Okay. So just seeing you all dance like this reminds me exactly of last night. So I was going over there, I was looking for some food. I went over there last night, and you guys were like jamming out in the corner. Okay, that one was obvious. One of the Jones was on the table, he was jamming out, everybody was singing around him. And then I looked over to the other corner, and I had no idea what was going on. I don't know, but there was like people looking in, there were guys looking, there were people on top of the table, but it was like down below. I didn't know what was going on. Well, they know what's going on, obviously. So I'm walking over there, and I have to kind of fight through the crowd. And then there's two Jungs over there, like almost standing on the table holding these signs up. I couldn't really see the signs, but it turns out it was speed dating. Speed dating, yes. So you have the guys sit down, the girls sit down, they had a quick conversation, and then to see, okay, am I compatible or not? Yes, no, I saw some thumbs up, I saw some crossed arms, I'm sorry for those, but it was quick speed dating, right? And so I finally made my way through, and I was like, hey, how do I get in on this? And so someone's like, no, you're just gonna sit down. I was looking for the line. So as I went over there to sit down, and some people were like, what are you doing over here, Jack? I think you're pretty good. I don't think you need a date. So I sat down, and I sat in front of somebody here. I don't know if she's here right now, but I sat in front of somebody. And so I was just thinking, so as soon as I sat down, I had that same thing. It's like, whoa, Chad's sitting down, he's speed dating. But in my mind, I was thinking, okay, so there are two options. I'm here, I'm consecrated, I'm a priest. I don't need to be speed dating, right? So I was just thinking in my mind, how would you feel? So properly speaking, I shouldn't be there. So how should I be there? I should be a young guy or a young girl sitting down. And then, let's just say I'm just a Hunchung, okay? This is like my prior years. I'm sitting down, I'm gonna go up to some young girl, some young Hunchung, and I'm gonna think, okay, I'm gonna look for somebody who's compatible with me. I'm gonna look for somebody who has all the qualities that I really enjoy, right? So she's gonna come across, she's gonna sit down, I'm gonna have a quick conversation with her. If she's really cute, I'll take it seriously. If she's not, I'll entertain the idea. You know, I'm just saying out loud what you're thinking anyways. You all know it. That's for both you guys and girls, right? So that's my problem. I just say out loud what you're already thinking, so if you're offended, it's because it's personal, okay? It's you, it's not me. So I'm sitting down, so I guess how I'm supposed to be doing it is, I'm just gonna see who I'm attracted to, what I like about this person, what can this person offer me? And if they can't offer me much, next, just swipe. Next person. Right? Vice versa. Both sides are going. I'm like, I hope she doesn't swipe me. I hope he doesn't swipe me. And then I saw some guys in the back. They're like, no, I'm not going to sit down there. I'm not at that level. I'm not going to sit down. But then I'm kind of hopeful. It's like, oh, is she going to come in there? Is she going to be the one? I'll jump down in there. All those thoughts going on in your mind. And even if you don't sit down there, I know the game. Everybody around there, you know they're single. At least you got that. Right? If you got nothing out of that, you know who the single ones are. Okay? Well, if you didn't know that, you know that now. You're still a little slow, but you'll pick it up. Eventually, you'll get it. So, I sat down and I said, okay, so what's Vinh gonna say? What's he doing here? I said, can I love you? Guys, you have no idea. Get your phones out, take some notes. A lot is coming, all right? I said, can I love you? I don't need anything from you. I don't need you. I'm never gonna see you. I'll probably never see you again. But can you give me the opportunity to love you for who you are? So that's who the priest is when I asked that. I'm just asking if I could simply love you. But what you're interested in is having somebody sit in front of you and say, no, I want to be able to have to be good enough for you. You see, you have it backwards. Why am I the one out of place when I'm the one that actually wants to love you? And it's not me. I'm just trying to do what God has always been trying to do with us. So you have it backwards. I want somebody to only appreciate me for my looks, my personality, and what I can offer. And if I don't receive that, I'll just go on to the next person. When there's somebody right in front of you that says, I want to love you simply because you're you. But no, that's not good enough. I just want the surface level. I want just the superficial. Isn't it backwards? There's so many things that it's backwards how we're thinking. But I'll get to that in a second. Notes are coming, okay? But nonetheless, and I started off my last breakout sessions talk with starting to pray. Because some of you may receive some amazing lights. Some of you, actually, I just realized, this is optional, you know that, right? You signed up, you're sitting down for a 1 hour long homily. I just want to let you know that, okay? All right, just so we set the stage, you chose to be here, okay? All right, good. And then some of you will receive a lot of lights, some ideas, some points. And for some of you, it's like, oh, that was pretty cool. That was entertaining. But the person next to you may receive some lights that have nothing to do with what you receive. And so there are going to be things that are going to be happening in your heart that it's unique to you. So this is the few cases where I'm going to say you could take out your phone, you could use your notes app, and just jot down things that strike your heart. Because Vin's going to be speaking a lot. He's just going to ramble, okay? But then there are going to be random things that just hit my heart. It's like, I want that. I want that type of relationship. I'm looking for that piece that he's speaking about. Whatever it may be, it'll be unique to me. And I'm going to take notes now, and I'll tell you what you do with those notes later on. But I'll start off with my name. Usually, and I said this before, I don't know why. People, when they don't know my name, they just guess my name. They just say, I think it's Jack Gao. I've never told anybody that my name is Gao, but everyone's like, Jack Gao here. Or maybe my last name is Gua, Jack Gao Gua. Or it's the Wonders of the Priest Mass. But no, my name is Vinh. Okay? It's Jeff Pham, Kim Vinh. I'm a Legionaries of Christ, like Chi was saying before. And I've been ordained a priest for 3 years. And this was the first ordination. So this is not photoshopped. It was just like that on my ordination day when I was laying on the ground next to one of my brother priests. And it was absolutely spectacular. And shortly after that, and I was thinking, 12 years before laying down on that cold marble floor, one of the most difficult things for me to give up was Tianyi. Because Tianyi is not just something you do on the weekends. Tianyi is family, you know that. Tianyi is community, family, relationships. But I'm entering into an order that's not Vietnamese. It's not even American, it's Mexican. We have American cultures in America, we speak English, but it's far from the Vietnamese culture that I do understand. So it was part of my yes. In saying yes to this vocation, I said no to Tianyi. But in that very same day, about 1 hour after that, I got to receive this. He's everywhere. Everywhere. If you don't see him, it's because he's hidden in plain sight. Blessings. I'm going to repeat this over and over and over. Blessings. I did not ask for this. I did not ask to be standing in front of you today as Jia Dun Wei with this scarf on, with this kan chang. I didn't ask for this. I actually, on the contrary, I gave this up. I said, I freely surrender to give this up, and I will never be in Tianyi again. That's part of the yes you asked of me. Every time you say yes to your husband or your wife in proposing, you say no to 3 billion other men, 3 billion other women. Every yes comes with no's. And Tianyi was my no. Yet God comes full circle, and he gives this back to me, especially when I'm not looking for it. On that very same day, and I get to come back in this position. And for those of you who knew me before I joined Tianyi, it's like, you really shouldn't be there. Because you know me. You know what I'm capable of and the person that I am, and yet God works. I stand here in front of you today as an absolute miracle. And when I do look at a crowd like this, because of the path God has given me, the person I'm drawn to the most are the ones that looks the most bored of the faith. Who's here? Where's Sinai? Who's here from Sinai? Lyndon, Sinai? No, so that's Arizona. Oh, there's one. We have one right here. Arizona area. I share this with them because one time when I was in Arizona, when I went to school, the moment I got to go away from my family, I didn't go to Mass at all. For 2 years, I didn't go to church. I didn't care to go to church. And the worst part was, or the best part, I didn't even feel guilty. I didn't have to go because my parents weren't watching. And back then, I didn't own a car. All I had was a motorcycle. And I would just ride. It was just like, this was the life. Real quick, I don't want to get too much into the weeds. But in the home that we lived at, this was back in 2002. So yes, I'm very old, okay? But still, for those of you who know, 2002 in our garage, a mint condition 1993 RX-7, single turbo, an STI WRX, an Evo 8, a hardtop S2000, and 4 motorcycles. That was in the garage of the cars, what we had. I was living the absolute highlight of my life. That's why I didn't need to go to church. Why? Okay, I'll take it back. I did go to church one time. I always wore my motorcycle. I walked into, it was like a bingo hall, they call it, of the old church in Arizona. And I held my motorcycle helmet walking in there as if I was I have to tone my words down. I was like the coolest guy ever, okay? And I went in and I was basically shopping. I did what you did all last night. I went speed shopping, but I did a brief one. Speed dating. Kind of shopping. Why that holds in my heart? Because I was standing in the back of that bingo hall, there was masks in the front, and I was scanning the room for all the girls with my motorcycle helmet. And I was there for about 5 minutes. Nope, not interested, I'm done. That was the one time I went to church in 2 years. But I didn't go for church, I didn't go for God, I went for the same reason most of you guys are here now. So, again. Okay. Yeah, but since they're here, you're here, so why are you laughing? So it's mutual, okay? We've agreed. But nonetheless, I was very far away, and yet he was never far away from me. And what my point is, the title of this talk is Hidden in Plain Sight, where God continues to work over and over and over, and I didn't realize it. And then there are moments where, as I'm living that life, there are moments of darkness, I just don't realize it, I start to fill it with other things. I look for the cars, I look for the motorcycles, out with my friends, just enjoying life. I loved life. But it reminds me of this person who, I'm going to read a text that she has. At age almost 2 years old, she was born just like anybody else, but almost at 2 years old, she started losing her sense of sight and her hearing. I'm going to read something. Eventually, she was able to communicate. And this is what she said. I had no concept whatsoever of nature or mind or death or God. Close your eyes for a second as I read this. Imagine you're a person, you have absolutely zero sight, and the exception is she couldn't hear. But I have to communicate with you somehow, so just listen to me with your eyes closed. I had no concept whatsoever of nature or mind or death or God. I literally thought with my body. Without a single exception, my memories of that time are tactile. But there is one spark of emotion or rational thought in these distinct yet corporal memories. I was like an unconscious clod of earth. There was nothing in me except the instinct to eat and drink and sleep. My days were a blank without past, present, or future, without hope or anticipation, without interest or joy. Then suddenly, I knew not how or where or when, my brain felt the impact of another mind, and I awoke to language, to knowledge, to love, to the usual concepts of nature, good and evil. I was actually lifted from nothingness to human life. You can open your eyes. I know it seems kind of confusing. What am I reading and who am I reading it from? It's by a young woman named Helen Keller. She had no vision and she couldn't hear. How are you able to communicate with such a person? So her life looked like that. Almost her soul was just dark. Dark, literally, there was no light. She couldn't see anything. So long story short, she was able to be taught how to communicate. They started drawing on her hands. And so the first thing she was able to communicate with a bishop, she said, "To what do we call him?" In the darkness of her heart, in the darkness of life, where all she felt was to eat, sleep. Yet she sensed that there was another person inside of her. And so the first thing she was able to communicate, she says, to what do we call him? She was able to feel God in that depth, in that darkness, in that alone, that isolation. And yet she was curious, but what do we call him? Who is this? And yet look at us. How many sunsets do we see? How many acts of love? How many parents and children? How much beauty? And yet sometimes that becomes our very distraction, and we don't even see who God is. She was blind and deaf, and yet we're the ones unable to see. So in a sense, we would be jealous of her. She had the gift of being able to see God because she wasn't distracted. How often do we distract ourselves? And as I was standing in here sharing, okay, it was funny and everything about the speed dating, I said, yeah, but I'm pretty sure I tapped into your heart in where I desire to be loved, not used. How do I know that? Okay, I'm just looking at you. I don't even know what your name is. Maybe I don't know what your name is, but I know that's true. Or for guys, I want to have a purpose. I want to be able to save. I want to be able to protect. I want to be manly. I want to be honorable. I may not be that way, but there's something inside of me that begs that reality to come out inside of me. How do I know that? Because we're human. God has placed this within us. But sometimes we're so distracted by everything around us, we lose sight of that. And she was able to detect this inside of her. And so for us, our very sight blinds us from the essential things. When we lay down at night and we close our eyes, we know the reality of what goes on inside. I know that I've been wounded by another. I know that I've been hurt, abused, hurt, or whatever it may be, and nobody knows. And yet I feel so alone. And yet when I wake up in the morning, I'm going outside. I play sports, I have my abilities, I have my goods, and I distract myself of all these things. But in the true self, my heart of hearts, I'm suffering. And I can't even see where God is trying to reach into my life because I'm so distracted by all these things in my life. By the sights and the sounds. He's trying to reach us. As I was saying, how I gave up Til Nhi and 15 years later he comes back. He was working and working and working. So I get to travel the world. Many different places, different countries. But more than traveling the world, I get to pick up languages. So I lived in Italy for 6 years. And my orders from Mexico, so I understand I can carry my weight in Italian. I'm fairly fluent in Spanish. I speak Vietnamese, more or less. And English, I'm still working on it. But that's mainly 4 languages. But you would think that's amazing. Jay, you get to go everywhere. You get to do all these different things. The best thing about my life, I could tell nobody about. The best. It's because the things I hear in confession, the things I hear when I guide people one-on-one, and I get to see God working in these people's lives. I get to see people suffer and recover and discover who God is. And of all these places I get to travel to, of all these things I get to experience, there's some richness inside each and every single one of us, and we want to be known. We want to be seen. We want to be loved simply for who we are. And he's knocking. He's knocking. He's knocking. But we distract ourselves and we don't hear him. So, how does he speak? There is, I don't know about you guys, but I don't know if you have Signal. I have Verizon, I think it is. My signal's not very strong, but there is Wi-Fi here. Do you guys know that? Oh, it's not for us. Maybe it's for the purple scars, because they're the privileged ones, right? Wi-Fi is here. Do you want to know what the password is? Have you tried it? Does it work? She's got a little bit of signal going on there. You realize there is Wi-Fi just streaming and oozing in this room right now, and yet none of you can have access to it. Because you don't have the password. It's everywhere. It's literally floating through us right now, floating through as you're going through the sites. Everywhere, connecting from one router to an extension to a satellite unit. And yet, because you don't have a password, you have zero access to it. Do you realize that God is always, constantly trying to knock at your door, trying to find his way into your heart? And if you don't have the password, it just comes and it leaves. Like the wind. Do I even know what the password is? Am I even trying to find the password? Sometimes in moments of desperation, we reach for other things. Rather than trying to find this password, I'll reach over to my phone and whatever else entails in there. I'll reach over to this other relationship that I know may not be the best one for me, but it's at least it's enjoyable. Or I go into or I watch a series. Because my life doesn't have meaning, but at least I get to watch the meaning of somebody else's life in a movie, the protagonist of somebody else's story. We are so hungry for purpose and for story and for meaning that we're willing to sit there for hours on end to watch somebody else's story come to life. And yet he's knocking and knocking. He's streaming, he's flowing, he's everywhere. So here, with the short time I have left, I'm going to try to explain to you, how do we access that? What is the password into this life? So God speaks in a language. So right now, for most of us, it's English. Okay? And I could try with Vietnamese. Nếu mà mình nói tiếng Việt thì cũng mấy người hiểu, cũng mấy người không. Mấy em hiểu được một tí, mấy người hiểu được nhiều. But language, tal vez yo me siento un poquito más cómodo en español. Entre nosotros podemos hablar en español si quieres. Yo puedo hablar de la misma cosa, sobre Cristo y cómo Él nos trabaja en nuestro corazón. So you're trying to okay, I've gotten something in there. It's the transmission. So language, just think cup. Okay, you got it? Think cup in your mind. Where's Delina? Is she here? No. Okay. Think cup in your mind. What's your cup look like? Yeah, in your mind. Do you have a cup? Does it have a handle? Yeah. Is it a Stanley? No. And for some, it might be a glass. For some, a coffee cup, one of their favorites. One single word, and yet you all have different images of these cups in your mind. Because the problem is the word itself, language, or apple. Just think of something apple. 3, 2, 1, apple. Some of you are thinking red. Some maybe green. Maybe iPad. iPhone, MacBook. One single word, but how can we go so far away from what I'm trying to say? So language is, I'm communicating to you through a medium, which is called language, and right now, to narrow it down, I'm going to speak English. And it's made of words, made of letters, concepts. Well, God does speak to us, but his language is not the one we're used to using. The reason why you can't access his Wi-Fi is because you don't understand his language. And when we say đọc kinh, we're thinking lần hát, đi lễ Chúa Nhật, right? This is đọc kinh. This is the extent of đọc kinh. So some of you are in college now. Which college should I go to? I'll pray the rosary. It doesn't work. He doesn't tell me where I need to go. And why doesn't she love me? I'm going to pray the rosary. It doesn't work. Or I lost my job. Or my children are sick. It doesn't work. God doesn't work. It's because we learned this when we were 10 years old, and you're trying to apply this 10-year-old God to your 18, 20, 25, 30, 40-year-old life. And so he doesn't work. Because he doesn't speak that way, and so I just abandoned God. You're trying to apply this understanding of God to your current life now. So some of you have taken notes already. Maybe, maybe not. Or maybe there's something stirring in your heart. Whatever it is that's stirring in your heart, if it's moving you to a greater goodness in yourself, a greater sacrifice, a greater version of yourself, there's a high probability it's him. He's speaking. He is speaking in your heart. The saints, they like to say, they have many different definitions, but I'm going to sum it up. It's a union of hearts. Okay, guys and girls, when I go to colleges, I give this example. I like this one. Girls, or usually it's like a breakup. This one works even better when it's during a breakup. But girls, imagine your boyfriend. He does everything right. He remembers your birthday, he brings you flowers. Your family loves him. Absolutely perfect. He only has one flaw, just one. I mean, he's handsome, he's rich, thoughtful. Just one flaw. Just one. His heart belongs to somebody else. I mean, it's just one flaw. It's just one. I mean, he's very handsome. I mean, very. Okay, scenario number two. Scenario number two. He forgets your birthday. His family likes him more or less. Your family likes him more or less. He starts arguments unnecessarily. I don't know why. He comes up late. He doesn't wear what you like. He likes things that you don't like. He likes to game with his friends. Remember, the problem is you, it's not me, okay? If you're offended by that, it's you. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. But his heart is always yours. Which one would you rather have? Okay, so raise your hand. Okay, person one and person two, okay? For the girls, would you rather have person one? Raise your hand if you want to have person one. His only flaw. I said girl. I said girl. But I said he was handsome, so I don't know why you're cheering. Just put your hands down. Person one or person two, who's very imperfect, but he's always thinking about you. You have his heart all the time. I know, you don't want to embarrass yourself. I'm going to tell you right now, from my experiences, person three, you girls are so, oh my gosh. Unbelievable. Just take person two, all right? Give us a chance, girls. All right, so, okay, when I do this, in all seriousness, they always pick person two. But they don't even think about it. It's like immediately it takes person two. Why? It's the heart. They're looking for the heart. So imagine there was a person three. He's cute, he's wealthy, he's thoughtful, your family loves him, and he's always thinking about you. So obviously. Guys, don't worry, guys. I'll take care of this one. Don't worry. And you're thinking that's like the highest ideal, right? There's no better guy than all those qualities, and his heart is always mine. He's always thinking about me. You'd be content with that, okay? Let's just say that's person three. And you would take person three, I'm sure. There's a person four. She's taking four. She doesn't even know who it is yet. He has all those qualities, but not only that he thinks about you, he desires what you desire. He feels pain for what you suffer with. He hates what you hate. Basically, what I'm saying is that not only that does he think of you, your heart and his skips to the same beat. That's not necessarily God. Just wait. It's because when I say prayer, what the saints talk about is not just this. This is a beautiful means. Prayer has been like, the rosary has been like my salvation. But when they're talking about the heart, it's that our heart and his become one, so much so that I only want to do what he wants to do. And his pain, you know that his pain comes from my pain. And so as a confessor, I sit there and I'm hearing the stories of people's lives. And I remember one time, gosh, I wish I had a lot more time. But I remember one time I was sitting in the confessional and I was thinking, this is the most amazing moment of my life. Because the person will come in and it's like, Father, I don't know why, but in this very moment, I want to confess this and I've never told anybody. And then the next person comes in and it's like, I've never told anybody and it's been 40 years since my last confession. The last time I went to confession was like when I was born, and yet I'm here sitting as a priest administering this mercy. And so it's incredible. I get to hear the highs and the lows, so I understand the human heart. The greatest thing that causes God pain is not the fact that you fall. It's not the fact that if you go to church every single day, every single Sunday, it doesn't make God any bigger. And if you miss Mass, it's not like you take a chip off of his shoulder. God's going to be God no matter what. Or like whatever, sex before marriage. I just do whatever. It's like, it doesn't make God any less. But why do we say that God is in pain? God is in pain when we suffer. Just like any parent, you'll know if your child falls, your pain comes from the fact that my child is suffering. His heart has pain for what ours does. And so a part of the language that he's speaking is he works through our sadness, what we suffer with. When you roll your ankle, when you break your finger, when you hurt your back, whatever it is, if you didn't feel the pain, Brother Vinh is back there. He's freshly professed. He just professed less than 24 hours ago. Like 25 hours ago. Brother Vinh, can you raise your hand? Now that they're done praising you, he broke his finger playing Gaga ball. Gaga ball, like straight up broke his finger. And if he didn't feel the pain, he would just keep playing. He might actually rip it off. So for us, pain is like a terrible thing. I don't want to feel the pain. I just want to go and play and do my thing. But pain is an indicator telling us, stop doing that, stupid. Stop running on your legs that's sprained. If you roll your ankle, if you keep playing on it, you're going to hurt it even more. Pain is an indicator. It's a help for us. It's a support. So even pain in my heart, maybe it's not my ankle, but it's my heart. Why do I feel so lonely? Why does it hurt when I'm abused, when I'm misunderstood? When someone says something about me that's not true, to strip me of my dignity. The pain is telling me there's something wrong. God is speaking. He's indicating things to us. Part of his language, a lot of that language is the heart to heart. What's happening in here? And he's also preparing, like, God, for some of us, it's like, I want to be holy. I really genuinely want to go on my path of holiness. But how do I be holy? I'll tell you right now, I know the custom path of holiness for every single one of you. That's a bold statement. I can tell you. Custom map. If you do this very thing, there's a high chance you'll go to heaven. You ready? Yeah. Are you sure? Whatever that you confess over and over and over, that's it. That's your custom path of holiness. But it's so easy for that person to do it, but that's not their path of holiness. This is mine. God is speaking through my sins, through my weaknesses, through my difficulties. God is like, this is how you come to me. This is how you get the fullness of life. Be free from these very things that are binding you. So if you find yourself confessing the same thing over and over and over, thanks be to God, you're not adding new things. Yes, I'd rather you have the same things over and over and over. Work on that. That's your custom path. It really is. That's his language. I'm going to skip this. I won't have time for this. Message received. How do I know if I'm actually communicating well with him? How do I know this Wi-Fi is not a scam or I'm not in danger? Because there are mixed signals in here. Somebody said, I tried Jesus with a capital J. I kind of had signal. I'm not sure. I wouldn't really trust that network, okay? Unless you're on a VPN. So I don't know. Just really take care of yourself there. But how do I know that this is a good message? Whatever he's doing in my heart, because I did give the disclaimer. There are things that he's moving in your heart. But I did ask, is he moving you towards greater holiness, more selflessness, a better version of myself? Those are all indicators that it's his voice. Sometimes I get an inspiration, or example, I get an inspiration to gossip. That's not from him. Because it's not inspired by love. Whenever you're inspired to do a greater act for somebody else out of love, high possibility is from him. If I get an inspiration to be more selfish, to be more greedy, to be more envious, lustful, that's not from him. I'm just giving you quick tools on how your heart works. This is the language that he speaks. It's heart to heart. Remember guy number 4? It's moving. It's where the hearts combine. 2 hearts become one. It's a union of hearts defined by the saints. It's lifting our hearts to God, lifting our mind and our hearts to God. So insofar as it moves us to greater selflessness, greater acts of love, greater faith, hope, and love, high possibility it's him. And a side effect is peace. God speaks with peace. I'm a vocation director. There are a lot of guys that they're fighting to be a priest or not be a priest. And then they finally decide. And sometimes they finally decide and it's absolute restlessness in their hearts. It's a good sign it's not from God. Let's try the other side. There are guys that really want this vocation, but it's not yours. If it's not yours, it's not yours. Try the other side. And then they finally say, okay, fine, I'm going to go, I'm going to leave, I'm going to get married. And then a peace comes over them. This is a sample. Every case is different. But peace is a good indicator. You know what's a good indicator that's almost directly from the devil? Ready? Fear. He uses fear like a pitchfork behind you. He moves you to make decisions out of fear. There are many other things too, but for simplicity's sake and shortage of time, the devil uses fear, God grants us peace. But there are prerequisites to set the stage to even listen to him. What are those? It's silence. Silence of the heart. Like this silence right now, this is not the silence I'm talking about. It's a silence from what's going on inside of me. The distractions, those thoughts. And sometimes I'm so afraid of the silence because, a disclaimer, I invite people to come into silence in order to start to listen to him, but there's stuff in that silence. There's trash that could come out that is revealed in that darkness. The image I like to use is, this is Glacier Lake. I've gotten to spend 2 summers in Montana. It is absolutely glorious. But when it's windy, the lake gets all choppy. You don't really see anything. It's just a beautiful choppy lake, frosty tips and everything. I know I'm going over. I won't go over the final time. This is also a picture that I took. This glassy lake. It looks like a mirror, but it's a lake. I would spend a lot of my afternoons out here. And when the lake is like this, sometimes you see trash. A potato chip bag here, just some floating trash over there. The breeze pushes it over to the side. In the silence, when the winds calm down, we start to see things surface in our hearts. And it's very uncomfortable to see trash. And sometimes that trash starts to surface, I'll just put in my earbuds. I'll just watch a movie. I'll just go out with my friends. I'll just fill that time, that void, that space. Giving God that space, that silence is absolutely necessary. But we choose if we allow God to start to even work in our hearts, but we choose to be silent or not. Not just of our ears, but in our hearts. Last tool of silence and trust. But I have a trust problem. I don't know if I can trust God. Remember the story in the beginning where I said, who was there for... Remember how in the beginning I said speed dating and I was out there, I told you the whole story and everything, and it was really funny, right? Not everybody was there, but I think you all believe me, don't you? Right? Or the story that I was in Arizona and we had all those cars, the guys were in the back. Do you actually believe we had all those cars in that house? Yeah, because you have no reason to doubt it. But I'm going to extract that thought process for a second. At some point, whether through wonders of the mass, through seeing me on the screen, the fact that I'm wearing a white cotton, you chose to trust me. You made an internal decision to trust me as a person, and whatever comes out of my mouth, you're just going to take it at face value. You've decided to trust me. That exact same ability you can apply to God. God, I choose to trust you. Many will come and say, but I don't know how to do it. Just do it. Have that relationship with him. Meet him. Speak with him. If you want to have a relationship with somebody, spend time with them. Share with them your highs and your lows, your loneliness, your solitude, your joys. Meet them. So, silence and trust. Is it a hard stop, no questions, or? Yeah, because I got to go play volleyball anyways after this. So. But I'll still give you some time for it. I guess it's optional. You can leave after this. I thought it was going to be at 40, but so we'll go straight into questions. I know how to rush through a lot of that, but you get the gist of it. I'll just run back through it. It is that God speaks in a language that's of the heart. It's not in the words that we're hearing with English, because many times we'll try to speak with God in English in our hearts, and that's okay. It's a starting point, but it responds in something much deeper, and it requires a silence. It requires trust. Just like how you're doing it with me or when you're having it with your friends or someone, you have friends that you trust more than others. But nonetheless, it's a decision you make to trust this person. Trust him. So that when you do hear his voice, you can respond more readily. So I guess let me just go over 5 minutes then. Oh, it's a hard stop. Okay. So I will be around, I guess. You can come up to me and ask questions for other moments. You have questions. I'm sorry I didn't leave you guys any time for questions.